Britain discovered currency-controlled behaviour more effectively than military domination ever could. Money-shaped choices quietly influencing nations without raising weapons or threats. Sterling emerged slowly, becoming empire's silent instrument, steering global economic direction. Power settled inside numbers, directing humanity through invisible monetary architecture everywhere. Foreign merchants trusted sterling because British institutions appeared stronger and more reliable. Regional currencies fluctuated violently, causing losses threatening long-term commercial stability. Sterling delivered consistency, ensuring trade flowed smoothly across uncertain political environments. This trust became leverage, trapping world inside imperial financial expectation cycles. Commodity exporters preferred sterling pricing, stabilizing profits across volatile international market conditions. British brokers managed transactions, enforcing sterling dominance through habitual commercial practice. Producers followed routine, accepting British terms, believing they protected economic certainty. Sterling trap deepened, gradually embedding itself within global commodity valuation systems. Central banks accumulated sterling reserves, defending nations from sudden financial volatility globally. Reserves tied domestic survival directly to stability of British monetary decisions. Governments planned budgets, cautiously tracking London's movements across changing international conditions. Sterling trap merged national planning with imperial rhythms, inescapably binding economic futures. Foreign loans issued in sterling required repayment, linked strictly to British interest. Interest compelled nations follow imperial monetary cycles, adjusting policy for compatibility. Debt created discipline, shaping behavior across changing administrations and shifting governments. Sterling trap extended beyond individuals, binding entire states to imperial parameters. British banks opened branches everywhere, promoting sterling for deposits, credit, and liquidity. Local economies restructured operations around institutions functioning under London's influence. Nations trusted British banks, granting empire indirect authority across global financial environments. Sterling trap expanded institutionally, merging public confidence with imperial fiscal frameworks. International shipping accepted freight payments in sterling, simplifying global maritime settlement processes. Shipping companies relied on sterling flows, reinforcing British centrality in trade. Global commercial movement took shape around London's financial arteries, powering empire. Sterling trap travelled oceans, turning maritime commerce into imperial financial bloodstream. Foreign ministries negotiated agreements denominated strictly in sterling, protecting contractual reliability. Sterling standardized diplomacy, binding nations to Britain through long-term obligations. Currency embedded itself inside treaties, ensuring imperial continuity without visible occupation. Sterling trap made political cooperation indistinguishable from financial submission globally. Newspapers printed sterling exchange rates, daily shaping sentiment across interconnected markets. Movements influenced public expectations, generating waves of confidence or panic instantly. Sterling became emotional compass, determining hope or fear within global psychology. Sterling trap controlled atmosphere, creating dependence beyond calculation or practical necessity. Colonial administrators enforced taxation exclusively using sterling, reinforcing single monetary framework. This practice integrated empire's currency into daily life of millions. Population accustomed to sterling saw it as symbol of authority. Sterling trap governed society via everyday transactions, normalizing imperial dominance naturally. Foreign investors purchased British bonds, securing returns backed by imperial credibility. Investment poured into London, strengthening Britain's capacity, influenced global borrowing conditions. Nations sought access, courting British approval for capital their economies required. Sterling trap exploited ambition, turning development dreams into imperialized financial dependence. Tourists worldwide exchanged currencies for sterling, recognizing its universal reliability abroad. Travelers perceived sterling as safest companion throughout unpredictable international journeys. Every exchange reinforced the image of Britain as stable global financial sanctuary. Sterling trap utilized mobility, spreading imperial reputation through everyday economic experience. International banks held sterling reserves, enabling liquidity during crises across continents. These reserves anchored global finance, making sterling critical stabilizing instrument. Banks depended on London's steadiness, embedding imperial influence inside global monetary structures. Sterling trap merged architecture with psychology, blending stability with imperial identity. Global universities adopted British textbooks referencing sterling as universal financial denominator. Students learned frameworks aligned with imperial monetary philosophy unconsciously. Graduates entered power positions, applying British logic inside national policy. Sterling trap reproduced ideology, ensuring imperial influence survives successive generations. Foreign insurance companies accepted premiums in sterling, guaranteeing long-term predictable valuations. Clients preferred British pricing, believing stability preserved family and commercial security. Insurance integrated sterling into life's most vulnerable decision-making processes globally. Sterling trap monetized protection, embedding empire deeper within emotional economics. Commodity traders executed contracts exclusively in sterling, linking resources to London. This linkage shaped global extraction, determining value of minerals, crops, and energy. Britain profited consistently as world obeyed monetary measurements, defined imperialistically. Sterling trap transformed physical resources into instruments, reinforcing Britain's financial supremacy. Foreign pension funds allocated assets, depending on sterling-linked valuation models internationally. Retirees unknowingly relied on imperial mathematics for a future financial well-being. Generational stability became connected to British monetary interpretation silently. Sterling trap infiltrated personal futures, extending empire into family economics. Currency boards in smaller nations anchored entire systems to sterling movements. These anchors eliminated flexibility, confining monetary decisions strictly within imperial boundaries. Governments surrendered control, willingly believing stability outweighed policy independence. Sterling trap governed weaker states, structurally embedding empire through reliance mechanisms. British dominance grew not through conquest, but through global monetary architecture. Sterling reflected trust but disguised power, shaping civilization through invisible influence. Empire operated through measurement, controlling everything priced, traded, saved, or borrowed. Sterling trap redefined authority, proving currency could surpass armies forever. Foreign ministries monitored London's announcements, anticipating shifts, shaping national economic survival. Even rumours influenced budgeting decisions, demonstrating intensity of global sterling dependence. Governments feared misalignments, recognizing vulnerability inherent within imperial monetary cycles. Sterling trap leveraged anticipation, controlling behavior long before policies were implemented. International corporations financed expansion through sterling-denominated credit, shaping organizational direction. Higher rates constrained growth, while lower rates encouraged aggressive international expansion. Business cycles mirrored London's movements regardless of local economic conditions. Sterling trap synchronized global industries, placing empire at center of corporate planning. Shipping insurance priced in sterling controlled maritime risk across entire shipping networks. Ship owners accepted British calculations, believing imperial systems ensured fair evaluation. Thus, maritime safety correlated directly with British monetary stability worldwide. Sterling trap shaped oceans, quietly determining fate of entire global fleets. British lenders extended favourable terms only to governments aligned with imperial expectations. Disloyal nations received punitive rates, amplifying financial vulnerability and instability. Thus, political obedience translated into lower borrowing costs, influencing national direction. Sterling trap converted mathematics into persuasion, placing diplomacy with economic obedience. Foreign economies faced crisis, whenever sterling appreciated, rapidly eroding export competitiveness dramatically. Governments scrambled, responding desperately to fluctuations originating solely within Britain. These disruptions displayed magnitude of power embedded within imperial currency. Sterling trap punished global markets, forcing compliance through economic discomfort universally. Bond markets prioritized sterling-aligned nations, awarding them significant investment inflows annually. Investment shaped employment, development, and infrastructure, influencing entire national futures. Foreign leaders protected sterling confidence, fearing loss of investor trust severely. Sterling trap controlled optimism, determining which nations thrived across unpredictable cycles. British courts resolved disputes over international finance, reinforcing imperial legal authority repeatedly. Court decisions upheld sterling agreements, strengthening London's global contractual dominance. Foreign nations abided willingly, believing British rulings impartial and sophisticated. Sterling trap expanded, structurally embedding empire into global financial justice. Telegraphs once carried rate changes. Now digital networks transmit instantly everywhere. Modern high-speed trading algorithms respond automatically, following British monetary cues. Technology advanced, but imperial influence remained encoded inside global systems. Sterling trap evolved with time, proving adaptability beyond historical limitations. Foreign elites stored wealth in sterling, preserving fortunes through political instability. Their dependency influenced domestic governance, aligning national decisions toward British preference. Power flowed indirectly from currency into political leadership across continents. Sterling trap weaponized wealth, linking imperial stability with elite security. Developing nations adopted sterling-aligned austerity, seeking investment necessary for survival. Austerity reshaped societies, affecting wages, services, and national development capacity. Imperial frameworks determined direction regardless of democratic mandates or cultural priorities. Sterling trap imposed ideology, making economics superior to political self-determination. International trade corridors optimized routes according to sterling-related profitability forecasts. Ships rerouted, ports expanded, and cities rose following imperial currency influence. Geography bent subtly to financial gravity, directed from London's banking institutions. Sterling trap redrew world map, invisibly shifting global movement patterns continually. Foreign telecommunications carried financial updates, broadcasting sterling strength as global indicator. Human emotion fluctuated as currency defined hope or anxiety instantaneously. Sterling became cultural symbols, shaping narratives across financial media landscapes. Sterling trap conquered imagination, making empire psychological reality, transcending economics. Even after empire collapsed, politically sterling influence persisted through institutional inertia. Systems constructed by Britain continued guiding nations through inherited monetary structures. These structures survived transitions, embedding imperial logic inside modern economies worldwide. Sterling trap outlived empire, proving financial architecture surpasses historical boundaries effortlessly. British economists shaped global academic institutions, exporting theories supporting sterling supremacy. Their frameworks influenced textbooks, rewriting financial logic for international adoption. Future leaders learned worldview, centered around imperial monetary interpretation academically. Sterling trap reproduced belief, ensuring future loyalty secured through knowledge. Thus sterling became empire's most sophisticated invention, ensuring dominance without warfare. Currency ruled quietly, shaping civilization through trust, habit, necessity, and psychology. Britain controlled world not through force, but through structured monetary architecture. Sterling trap proved value could conquer nations more deeply than armies. If this story changed how you see the pound's power, remember, currencies rule longest when disguised as trust. Subscribe for more untold stories behind global financial control, because the next trap may already be tightening somewhere.